Hello, I am Aidan Achong, and welcome to Purchase Broadcast Studios. Today, we speak about the effects of sports on students at SUNY Purchase, both locally and nationally, specifically the New York sports teams. Sports are a safe space and fixture to many students in the Purchase community, with Purchase being recognized as a NCAA Division III school, the home of many highly competitive interscholastic teams, such as the teams for basketball, lacrosse, cross country, soccer, swimming, tennis, volleyball, baseball, and golf. Purchase also holds intramurals and other recreational programs such as Nerf Wars, Stage Combat, and many more. Outside of the campus, there are also many pro sports teams in our semi-local area, such as the New York Knicks, the New York Yankees, and the New York Mets, who have seen a lot of success in recent years, reflecting on the sports community here at Purchase in many ways. I am joined today by two people very knowledgeable on the situation. First, we have Christian Fernandez, a filmmaker at Purchase, who's a New York sports fanatic, heavily involved in the sports community here at Purchase. And we are also joined by Riley O'Shea, a lacrosse player here at Purchase. How are you guys doing?
Good. Nice day.
Pretty good. So the first thing I want to ask you guys is, how has sports positively affected your relationships here at SUNY Purchase in your experiences? We can give it Riley first.
Okay. I think it's had a pretty positive impact, especially with the structure of having to come to practices every morning and doing study hall hours has really helped me, be here more than I would have. I'm a commuter student, so I spend more time here than I would have if I didn't do the lacrosse team.
Yeah, I would say it's more of a mixed type of thing. Sometimes there's people I kind of feel the mold with. People don't really, at least what I found, it's not really a sports community, more artsy, and that's a good thing. But when I do find those people, it's a very good thing, and I feel like I belong. And especially New York is such a good community and state for sports that I feel part of a greater fan base and culture. So,
and following on that, especially with the New York sports teams, you being a Mets fan and all, how has the success of the Mets, the Knicks, and the Yankees positively affected you and your experiences here at Purchase? With seeing the teams doing so well and coming to school and be like, wow, my team's actually doing good.
I'll tell you, like some days when the depression's not killing me, I come to school and I'm just so happy to just tell my friends, yo, how about those Mets? How about those Knicks? Not the Yankees, but how about it's so exciting because for my whole life they've not been really well, so it's exciting for me personally. It's a good thing to talk about now and to build community around. So it makes me very happy and excited, and even for a championship if we win, it just makes me look forward to the future. I'll tell you that.
Riley, are there any sports teams in New York that positively affects you as well?
Oh, I love the Knicks. So they're doing really well right now. There's a game today, and I'm hoping that we get at least a conference banner.
Facts.
Maybe a chip. Who knows? Baseball. I'm not really a big baseball person, but I like the Giants. They suck, but but yeah, it is good to see the Knicks are doing so well, especially this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Yankees and the Mets were both doing amazing last season.
We could have gotten a Subway Series, World Series last year, but the Dodgers just had to take it all away.
Yeah, that's messed up.
It's all right.
And with New Yorkers being such heavy sports fan, I think that relies on every New Yorker, regardless if you're a fan or not. You love to enjoy the positive experiences that, with New York sports. So, Riley, to follow up, you are a lacrosse player here at Purchase. How has that experience been, being on the team, going through all the practices, and what's the most fun about it?
The most fun about it is just playing lacrosse. I just like playing lacrosse. It's a great workout, so I feel good after I do it, physically, and then mentally and emotionally, just working out in general makes you feel kind of more clear and stuff, which I think helped with school a lot.
Now, how does this compare to other experiences you've had with sports at other schools or other experiences in your life?
Well, this is my first time playing a sport in college, but I played sports all throughout high school, middle school, elementary school. So I would say that compared to those, depends. The people on the team are great. I really love the girls. The coach is wonderful. She's awesome, and our assistant coach is really great too. But as far as playing lacrosse, it's not as much of a great team as I would have hoped for. But So that kind of affects morale a little bit. Like it's a little less exciting when you're going into a game and losing like every time. So, but overall, like it's just fun playing lacrosse. So
That's good. That's
still
good.
positive.
So here's a question directed to both of you. How do you feel that the attention that may be lacking towards sports in comparison to the many art programs we have here, hurts sports in a way here? And how do you think the school could try to fix that and try to help students like you guys feel better about sports here? Christian, we'll start with you.
You see, what I would say, like I'm not gonna lie, I go to Wegmans sometimes and I see Manhattanville shirts, and I feel like I'm not sure what division they are, like Division 3, Division 2, but I feel like if we were more supportive of our teams, like our Knicks, our Mets, our Brooklyn, if we were more supportive of those teams, I do feel like we could get a little bit better exposure than just being a art school, which we're really known for. But I really feel like there's a community here that can be grown to love these sports teams, to love these New York teams. And I on top of other things Purchase can build on, I do think that's one thing they could really build on, especially building support for our Division 3 teams that are here, I'm a big basketball guy. I wish there was more exposure to our teams,
Yeah.
And with Riley, how would you?
Oh yeah, I agree. I think like more exposure would positively benefit the athletics program, and also I think people like going to the games and stuff, like when you have like a crowd of your peers and stuff who are all supporting you, like just as an athlete, that makes you want to like work even harder in practices, and I think that it would actually make the athletes even better too.
Can I add on that? I just want to say, we like here as artists, we also, I feel like most of us, there is some jealousy, don't get me wrong. Most of us here support each other as artists, and I feel if we blend that into our sports or athletic programs, we can only go up.
Yeah.
It's like just community, and we can really build that as artists and as fans and spectators and as a college as a whole.
I think one thing to include is the fact that there's a lot of different sports here, and I feel like the attention given to it is not necessarily so focused on them, because there's a lot of games and a lot of teams here that I'm not gonna lie, I've never heard of a single one of their actual games in live time. I've heard about it after, but I feel like there's a lot of attention that could be portrayed towards that. I think you guys could agree that sports are something important, and the fact that the school sometimes lacks that and almost treats it as like a second option, it's like, come on, I feel like there's a bigger community than just a handful of students. Now, the college used to run a thing where they would have different local teams like the Mets and the Yankees where you could get student-exclusive tickets at a discounted price to be able to go to the games together. I believe there was a shuttle program as well.
Since when?
Now, do you guys think that they should bring something like this back, and would you be interested, hypothetically, going with your peers and going to the games, especially at this kind of price, going together and getting that experience? Christian, what's up with you?
Is that even a question?
Yeah,
Like,
what?
dude, of course. If you have that, I feel like that would get so much more engagement with our teams and even the sports culture here at Purchase. Like, what? This is the first time I'm hearing about that. What happened?
It's been since 2018. That's the last time we can definitively say that was a thing. And Riley, I guess we follow you. Would you be interested in something like this at the school?
Yeah, for sure. Like that would be really awesome, and I agree. I think that would just make people more excited about sports in general. And then because the friendships around here, like you were saying, it's an art school. A lot of the friendships are based on like supporting each other as artists and stuff. And I don't really see that with like the athletics.
Yeah, can I add on that? I really do see like kind of a divide in our students and people that or students are also involved in sports. I kind of do see the divide where there's some type of resentment towards the people in athletics and athletics to people that are artists. I do kind of see that resentment here as I'm about to graduate. Like for 4 years, I have kind of seen that. I wish we could blend that mold a little more to be supportive of each other,
Okay.
So Christian, I know last semester you worked on this project about the Mets and how their playoff success was going, and I know that something as a filmmaker you took very seriously, and being a sports fan, you brought those two things together. Now, obviously you're passionate about it. Do you think that the school should be able to focus on more things like that, where students are trying to focus on the sports teams and try to combine it with the arts and try and make it its own thing? Because I feel like obviously as an art school and a lot of sports community, you could bring those into one and try to make that stronger.
Wait, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
So,
Yeah.
you made a Mets project last semester about
Right.
the Mets and their playoff success. How do you feel that if the school were to try take other avenues to combine the sports and combine the arts and to make it into one massive, not one project but a long-term project where you could have different students working on these different things, analysts, bringing another branch of students in the purchase to try work on their craft, with sports broadcasting and different things like that being such a big commodity in this world.
I would say can strongly consider doing that. I'm not gonna lie. I have found a lot of friends. I'm a screenwriter as well. I have found a lot of friends that are also big sports fans, just under the shadows, because it's so focused on like film and cinema and television. I feel if you can add that, it would really help students that are also big sports fans to like hone their craft and develop their skills in like sports production or like videography in sports. I that would really help.
And Riley, I want to aim this different question to you. You being on the lacrosse team, you were saying that the team's success or lack thereof was definitely a morale killer. What is something that you would want to, see added, or a couple of things that would add to the lacrosse team? Whether it's attention, whether it's funding, that could really help you guys out in terms of just having a higher morale and trying to have a better season.
Well, I don't know anything about funding or like how that affects the team, but I do know that more exposure just puts more pressure on the athletes to do better and train harder. Like in a lot of practices and stuff, I do see like a lack of effort and like joking around a lot and not hustling as much as I've seen on other teams. And I think that is due a lot in part to Purchase being an art school. So it's like, oh, it doesn't really matter. We're just doing this to do it. When it's like, it could be something serious. It could be like the girls have potential and stuff. And I think more exposure would put more pressure on us.
For sure. I think there's a lot of exposure and lack of, because with so many different students here, so many student athletes. I didn't know we actually had a basketball team until relatively recently because I had a classmate who was on the basketball team. I thought that was something that was like, wow, we have a whole team and nobody's gonna even point out when the games are. Let us know how we can get there. Put a shuttle together. I feel like I think you guys can agree. We would all go to these games, and if we could support, if time was allowing, and I think if there was more emphasis on even recreational intramural sports here at Purchase, I think a lot of students like yourself would participate in that, because some people, I get, they don't want to practice, they don't want to be so heavily involved, but there's also a lot of students who just want to have fun, who want to have a good time, and if you could organize that a couple of times a week, you can go play your favorite sport, hang out with your friends, and it's not that serious. It's like, hey, that's something fun and a better way to grow the sports community here at Purchase. And I feel like, again, the lack of just attention and paying attention is something that's really important. And to wrap this up, I just want brush by you guys again. What's the biggest thing with the sports community here that you guys would want to see improved over the next couple of years, even past when you guys are here? We'll start with Riley.
I would say, like we've been saying before, like the exposure, like when there's concerts or like the art galleries and stuff showing, I get like a lot of notifications and emails and stuff, and there's signs everywhere saying like this is happening, this is when it's happening, and it's just really like put out to people, so I know that it's happening. Whereas like you guys have been saying, like a lot of people don't even know like which sport teams we have and then when any of our games are. So I think that just that alone would change a lot of the athletic culture.
Yeah, I want to add on that point.
Yeah.
Like Riley was saying, a lot of emails about art galleries, exhibitions, film screenings. There's nowhere near that same level of communication with the sports teams here at Purchase. And I'm just being real. The only time you could find out about their schedules, their games, what sports are here, you have to go to the Purchase website, or you have to
look it up.
or look it up exactly. And that's I'm not gonna lie, it is time consuming for people like nowadays in this generation. And it's so easy and like beneficial if you just send an email out saying, yo, we have a game this day, we have a softball game this day. That would bring more engagement in people, and I don't see that at all. So they could really work on that.
I agree. Thank you guys for today. And that's a glimpse of the impact that sports has at SUNY Purchase, both the local school teams as well as the national leagues. Thank you to Christian and Riley for joining me in this great conversation today. And I'm Aidan with Purchase Broadcast Studios.
Thanks.